Yeah, I do think they're going to get their Ozempic free on the NHS because they're slightly overweight. How they're overweight when they're homeless, God knows, right? They're already paid £1,600 a month. They're begging on the streets, getting more money. Let's talk about fat loss jabs. Let's talk about two, Ozempic and Mounjaro. Ultimately, they were made for people who have diabetes, all right? They weren't meant for fat loss. Ozempic works on one hormone, and Mounjaro works on two. So in theory, Mounjaro is actually the more superior product. What they do is they actually regulate hormones within the brain and they make you feel fuller for longer. So in theory, you're not going to raid the cupboards as much as you have been doing. Ozempic was actually released in 2017, so this was the daddy. This was great, and you saw loads of celebrities losing loads of weight, and everyone's like, what the hell's going on here? How has that person lost 4 stone so quickly? 2022, this is when Mounjaro came over as the daddy, because obviously, like I say, it works on 2 hormones in your brain, not just one. So it is, in theory, the better product. So celebrities were endorsing them because guess what? Pharmaceutical companies have a lot of money and they can pay somebody for an Instagram post serious amounts of money. And once you've got your favorite celeb, could be anybody, and they look incredible, you will do anything to look as good as that. How do you get hold of them? Ultimately, me and you can rock in to a private clinic and just pay for it. There's big money to be made in this. Let's say 1 pen is £300. You might be able to get a bit of a knockoff version for £100. So this is where it gets interesting, because in the UK, as of June, they're actually going to be available on the NHS. So it's going to lead to some very interesting times, because if you are obese, even if you're homeless, you could get this stuff for free. So that means people's taxes are going to pay for people's Ozempic. Now, I would assume if you're homeless and you get an Ozempic pen, you're going to sell it for £200. I do think there's going to be certain laws put in place eventually when everyone's got addicted to this stuff, everyone's living on it, and there's people dying because they're malnourished because they're not eating any bloody food. Food is fuel. If you don't have any fuel, the car will not run, okay? So these people not eating anything, that isn't the way to do it. The problem is people are going to get absolutely hooked on this stuff, and they're going to be like crackheads trying to get hold of it. I think there's going to be a serious supply shortage. People are going to be paying stupid amounts of money. Essentially, the problem is there's a reason why you're fat in the first place. If you take Ozempic and lose 5 stone, but the habits are still there, why you added weight in the first place, you're just going to return to normal. You know, this is why these ketosis diets, you know, Atkins diets, all the rest of it, if you do it for a short period of time and then revert back to your old habits, you're just going to put the weight back on. It can be quite useful if you're a disciplined individual, but if you're one of these people that stress eats, binge eats, once you stop taking the Ozempic and you start doing that again, chances are you're going to put on the weight again. So the people that do actually need this stuff, the diabetic people, I think there's going to be some serious problems, because the people that don't need it, who just essentially want to cheat, are going to be taking up all the supply, and then these people with diabetes are going to be struggling. There has been 82 deaths because of this stuff. Now, whether it's because it was black market stuff, maybe in June when it is put on the market properly by the NHS and it's more readily available, there might be more stringent rules and regulations, so to speak, but ultimately, don't just go down it if you want to lose half a stone. Trust me, that's a bad idea. If you are really struggling and you've got 6, 8, 10 stone to lose and it's life or death, then yeah, go for it. But there's a lot of people losing weight on Ozempic and Mounjaro, and you almost look like you've got a really gaunt face or like a flat ass. That's because it isn't just fat loss, it's just weight loss in general. So if you want it to actually look amazing, look very aesthetically pleasing, is it the best thing for you? Because potentially you're going to be losing a load of muscle at the same time because you're not eating enough calories to maintain that muscle mass. So you might end up looking like a skinny fat person, if that makes sense. I think if you're super busy, right, and you're a stress head, and it's going to make your time when you're dieting that little bit easier. If it's there to use, by all means use it for short periods of time, providing you have some discipline. For bodybuilders, for example, they can use it. If they're super busy and they're really stressed and they get like hangry, do you know what I mean? When you get really angry when you're hungry. If there's something like that's going to stop that so they're not shouting at the kids or the wife or whatever, I think it can be quite useful for those people who have serious amounts of weight to lose and like I say, it's a health problem. Get that shit down you if I were you, do you know what I mean? Because hopefully when you start adding the exercise and you start eating better, you're going to get addicted to the new you and you're wanting to keep it up.